This Day in Sports History. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. I'm a big fan of shave soap. I've been using different brands for years, and I recently gave Sterling's shave soaps a try, and I've been very happy with the results. Sterling's shave soaps give you a great lather and a frictionless feel that allows the razor to glide right over the skin for a super close shave. No skin irritation and a clean, refreshing feel with no soapy residue after. I can tell you without a doubt, it's simply the best shave I've ever had. And my wife has noticed too. And here's the thing. With the ability to purchase 1-ounce sample pucks, you can try out different scents to find the right one for you. Give Sterling Soap a try today. Visit sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. And welcome back to This Day in Sports History, and welcome to the 500th consecutive episode of this podcast. That's a cool little landmark. Thanks for joining me along the way. The support from family and friends has meant a lot and has kept me going throughout this process. Just a commitment from me here. As long as this show runs, it will not be assisted by artificial intelligence. I do the research using a small library of books and the internet, of course, for story ideas, background info, and stats and fact-checking. I write the scripts and voice them myself and then produce each episode with music I created. There's nothing wrong with AI in a lot of areas, but it should not be used to replace the human element. Any opinions that I've expressed on this program are mine alone. All right, let's get to the show. It's April 10th, and since today is the opening round of the Masters, let's go back to what happened on this day in 2016. A contrast of epic highs and tremendously stunning lows. This was the final round of the 80th edition of the Masters, and let's talk about those epic highs first. If you happened to get a seat around the 16th green for Sunday's action, you were a witness to history. The 16th hole is a par 3. It was playing 181 yards on this day. Shane Lowry had not had a great tournament up to this point. When he stepped up to the tee, he was 12 over for the tournament, and he was probably ready for this edition to be over. But his 8-iron shot was a beaut. It landed about 30 feet short and then curled left right into the cup for an ace. And that was a nice little salve to the wound the golf course had imposed upon him. Davis Love III came along a few groups later, and he was also not having much fun this week. He was plus 13 when he got to 16, and he pulled out his 7-iron. His ball landed in about the same spot that Lowry's had, and it took the same path to Cup Town for the second ace at the 16th on the day. Pretty cool, right? Rare, but not unheard of. In the previous 12 years, 2 holes in one at the 16th during the same round had happened 4 times. And that's when Louis Oosthuizen said, "Hold my beer." Well, figuratively speaking, of course. Oosty dialed up the difficulty level a little bit on his shot. Oosthuizen was playing with J.B. Holmes. Now, Holmes led off with an incredible shot on 16, leaving his about 2 feet above the hole. Now, Louis, as you will remember, already had a history of great shots at the Masters before this. I talked about his albatross during the 2012 Masters just the other day. Well, this shot was just as amazing, if a little bit shorter, and it's going to require a little bit on my end to describe for your ears, but I'll let Vern Lundquist get it started.
Louis Oosthuizen. I've been here 17 years. I have never seen an afternoon like this.
So the ball's in the air, and when Vern says, "All right," Oosty's ball hits pin high above the hole. It starts to curl. And now when he says, "That's one," Oosty's ball taps Holmes's ball, sending it past the hole. Oosthuizen's ball kept on moving, and it dropped for another ace.
It's the best billiards tournament I've ever seen, Vern. 9 ball in the corner pocket.
3 aces on the same hole on the same day. That had never been done before. And as is tradition at the Masters, any player who scores a hole-in-one, whether during the tournament or the preliminary par 3 tourney, gets a commemorative piece of crystal. So now on to the heartbreak on this day in 2016. Jordan Spieth led by a shot over Smylie Kaufman, and those two started the day in the final group. After a par birdie start, Smiley's day went south in a hurry. He bogeyed 4 of the next 7 holes to make the turn 1 over for the tournament, and it was tough to watch the self-immolation in progress from there. 5 bogeys and a double bogey on the backside left him with a final round 81, falling from 2nd to begin the day to 29th by the time his day was done. Kaufman's round probably didn't do Spieth any favors either. Watching a guy hack it around the course while you're trying to repeat as Masters champion is not the best scenario. But he did a good job focusing on his game on the front side, reeling off 4 straight birdies to make the turn at 7 under for the tournament. And at that point, he had a 5-shot lead with 9 holes to play, and it was a near sure bet that he was going to be putting the green jacket on himself as a back-to-back winner. That's when the wheels started to come off the party bus. Bogeys at 10 and 11, followed by 2 balls in Rays Creek on 12 that led to a triple bogey, and Spieth's 5-shot lead diminished faster than your 401k last Friday. Spieth put the train back on the tracks at 13 with a birdie, but by that point, England's Danny Willett was stringing together some birdies of his own as he heard the loud gasps reacting to Spieth's meltdown behind him. Willett finished with a 67 to go from 3 shots back to a 3-shot win. Spieth's collapse with a 5-shot lead caused many to compare it to Greg Norman's 6-shot cataclysmic collapse back in 1996. In 1975, it was opening day at the Masters and the dawn of a new era at Augusta National. Lee Elder became the first black man allowed to play in the Masters, earning his way there after winning the Monsanto Open a full calendar year before. Sadly, leading up to the tournament, Elder received lots of hate mail, and here he is talking about his week in Augusta years later.
It was tough because I could not really get comfortable. As a matter of fact, I stayed in 2 houses because I had received so many threatening phone calls and letters that they did not want me to be where they had access to me if I wanted to. I couldn't go out and have dinner at the clubs and around the country. Yeah.
Elder shot 74-78 on the first 2 days and he missed the cut, but he would come back to play the Masters another 5 times, making the top 20 in 2 of those. Interesting fact, Elder benefited from a round of golf with boxing legend Joe Louis, who was also a huge golfer. After a 20-something Elder played 18 holes with the heavyweight champ, Louis connected him with his coach who tutored Elder to the point that he could start competing in tournaments. And one more tidbit, the PGA Tour opened up its tournaments to black players in 1961. However, the Masters is an invitational, with invitations usually extended to winners of PGA Tour events in the previous calendar year. Well, after black golfer Charlie Sifford won twice in the late 60s, he was hoping to receive an invitation, but one never arrived. On this day in 1896, the first Olympic marathon was run. It was a tale of triumph on one hand and deceit on the other. Now, we've already talked in previous editions about how this was the rebirth of the Olympics, or the first modern Olympiad held in Athens, Greece. The marathon had been the idea of a Frenchman by the name of Michel Brial, who suggested the organizers pay homage to the legend of Phidippides, the Greek messenger who in 490 BC ran 25 miles or so from Marathon to Athens to announce that the Persians had been defeated in battle, and then died from exhaustion. 17 runners lined up in Marathon to run a course measured at 24.8 miles to the Panathenaic Stadium in Athens. As the runners made their way along the course, messengers on horseback carried news of the race back to the awaiting crowds at the stadium, estimated to be 100,000 in and around the stadium. Spiridon Louis, our first Spiridon, because there will be another one, lagged behind the other runners for most of the race, choosing to stop along the way to eat a hard-boiled egg and wash it down with a swig of red wine. My kind of mid-race fill-up. But around mile 23, as the road pitched up, Louis picked up his pace. He caught the other runners and then he pulled out in front. As he approached the stadium, The crowd realized it was one of their own leading the race, a Greek, winning the Greek-inspired race. As he entered the stadium, Prince George and Prince Constantine leaped out of the stands and joined him for the lap around the track to the finish line. Spiridon Louis ran the 24.8 miles in 2 hours, 58 minutes, 50 seconds, a full 7 minutes in front of the next runner, another Greek athlete named Karolaus Vasilakis. And then another runner entered the stadium. Could it be another Greek runner, another Spiridon? Indeed it was. Spiridon Balakis was just ahead of a hard-charging Hungarian runner. Balakis crossed the line in third place for the Greek sweep. The crowd erupted in cheers, but hang on just a second. The Hungarian runner who came in fourth, named Gyula Kellner, lodged a protest, saying that Balakis had dropped out of the race and then he'd hopped into a horse-drawn cart to cover several miles of the race course before rejoining it. 3 days later, Balakis admitted he had cheated, and he was disqualified, and Kellner was listed as finishing third. Interesting fact about these Olympics, though, only the top 2 finishers in each event were recognized at the end with awards. And the winner did not receive a gold medal like they do today because gold was thought to be too ostentatious. Instead, the winner was given a silver medal, a crown made from olive branches, and a diploma. Second place received a bronze medal, a laurel wreath, along with the diploma. And on this day in 1999, the Chicago Bulls set an infamous record by scoring just 49 points in a loss to the Miami Heat. This, of course, was not the same Chicago Bulls team that had won 6 NBA titles. Jordan had retired for the second time, Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman had moved on, and Phil Jackson had taken over the Lakers. This was a Tim Floyd-coached, Tony Kukoc-led team that won 13 games and finished dead last in the East that season. Adding to the embarrassment, this game was in Chicago's United Center. The 49 points were the fewest scored by an NBA team in the shot clock era, which started in 1955. The previous record for scoring futility in a game had been 55 points in 1998 by the Indiana Pacers. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. Before there were Lamborghini sports cars, there were Lamborghini farm tractors. After World War II, Ferruccio Lamborghini brought his knowledge of machinery learned in the Italian army home with him, and knowing his country would need to successfully farm to recover from the war's devastation, he began building tractors. By 1963, his farm equipment business and other ventures were so successful that he bought a Ferrari. Finding issues with the quality of the build, he started building sports cars to compete with Enzo Ferrari's brand. Hey, thanks for celebrating today's 500th episode with me. If you have a moment and you haven't done so already, how about leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or a comment about the episode on Spotify? It would be greatly appreciated. Enjoy your day, and of course, I'll be back tomorrow with episode 501 of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.